So, welcome everyone. This is Siddharth Mehta from Knappily, and we are pleased to welcome all of you. We are conducting this seminar on uh, building your photography skills using the most handy device which all of us have at every moment in our hand, the smartphones. And we have the expert here, Rajiv Chaturvedi, who will be guiding us on how to do it, the basic hygiene of using smartphones to take a good photograph. Rajiv is here. So let me first of all briefly introduce Rajiv. Rajiv is a chartered accountant by profession, and and his story is amazing. I mean, he was a practicing chartered accountant, doing very well in his career, in terms of finances, of course. But his passion was photography. And you know what? This looks like a typical movie story, or the story which inspires us. He left his job and took the plunge, and he started his own company. He does corporate photography, and he is an expert in the field. I mean, he is the better person to share what all kind of work he has done. Welcome, Rajiv.
Thank you very much, Siddharth. Thanks for this amazing word for me. Of course, it was a biggest change in my life, but yes, the family members, the friends, the relatives are there to support me well, and that's how we are still continuing in this journey.
Raju, before we start with the actual session, and this question, because a lot of us who are working, we have this thought in mind that I should go behind my passion. I should leave my job, and what should I do? What should I not do? So very briefly, in a minute's time, if you can just share what prompted you to take this plunge, and are you happy? I'm sure you are happy, but for the sake of our audience here, and then we will start with the session. Yeah.
Right. So I think, as I said, this journey was really amazing, but it can never be planned. It has to be all of a sudden. As I mentioned earlier, the support of my family members, my wife, and everyone near and dear to me are definitely one of the key elements of this. But the decision was very absurd. I just got the promotion, and in 3 months, the boss who fought for my promotion, he was surprised to hear from me that I'm leaving the job. So the decision was sudden, because I think you can never plan this kind of a shift in your career any point of time. So it has to be very, very, very aggressively, without any planning. You have to just jump into this. The best part with me was definitely the support, one thing, but a profession, when I have a degree, that's kind of a safety net. So even, I mean, initially that was there in the mind that if it doesn't work for a certain period, maybe 4 months, 6 months, I always have a profession in my hand which can always give me the job back. So that was the quick
Right.
story about
Yeah.
this sudden change.
So great, and I'm sure you have lot many stories to share today, and you will be sharing your
Yes.
photographs and how you share stories through your photograph. That is what we all want to listen. Yeah, but before we get into the actual session, I have a small poll which I will like to take. Audiences, this is for you all. So I am just launching a small poll. It will take a couple of minutes of your time. Yeah. So just there are 5 questions. If you can answer these 5 questions, it will help us. So I'm giving you 2 minutes time. I think 2 minutes is a too long a time, but then yeah. I think poll is visible, right, Rajiv?
Yes, I can see the poll, and I can see the counters moving.
Sure, sure. Yeah. I have started getting the responses also.
So the questions are quite interesting, Siddharth.
Yeah. See, I am a layman as far as the photography is concerned. So whatever I thought, I put up here. There are quite a few people who are still not able to connect to their audio devices. I think I have written message once, but let me again. Yeah. So 35 people, 36 have already responded. I think 40 would be a good number to stop the poll. All right. So 10 seconds more and I will stop this poll now. Okay. Right, Rajiv. So I have the results with me. And what do you want? You want me to share this result with everyone right now, or when? I mean,
So I think that let's keep that as a secret for now, and like we will share this result at the right time,
you
because
let me
I
know.
mean the questions which you have taken in this one is quite important to trigger the discussion which we want to have today.
Yeah.
So yes.
So I was of the opinion that we should share it right now so that everybody understands the perspective. Right?
Okay, if that is the case, definitely yes, Siddharth. Please go
Yeah.
ahead.
Okay. Yes, I'm just sharing, and then you can discuss what your observation. Right.
Right.
So you can take. I'm sure you are able to look at the results.
Yes.
Yeah. So you can just take one by one. I mean, 40 people have responded, I think. Yeah, so first is I rate my photography skills as majority, 29 people are saying average. Nobody has said excellent, of course. So people are at right platform. I want to cultivate photography as hobby, but don't know how to start it. My goodness, almost 100%. Right. So yeah, so that's what you need to cater to, Rajiv, in today's session. Right.
Right.
The
Yeah.
biggest constraint for people, how to start. And I think for most of us, we don't know how to start. Yeah, so 53% are saying this, and few believe that resources like DSLR and instruments are important. So maybe you are going to cover that too in today's session, that it is perhaps one of the biggest myths that people have.
Right.
And according to me, the must have quality to be a good photographer. Yeah, so storytelling is very important. So what is the photographer trying to say, and how the people observe it, and yeah, so that I think again you need to cover that point. And I struggle to possess I struggle to possess that must have quality. Yeah, so 88%, so almost all the people. So that's it. I mean, so that gives us, everybody sitting here, it gives us a fair bit of idea that what kind of audience we have, and what should be the content from Rajiv's side, right? So Rajiv, that is it from my side. From this point, now you can share your views and take this session forward.
Right, Siddharth. Thank you very much to take up this poll. As I mentioned, some of the pointers are very, very key actually to trigger me the conversation. So if I just summarize, I can find two things very, very important coming out of this poll. One is, are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Okay, because I see Siddharth's screen freeze, so I could not make out. So great. So as coming back to the topic, I mean, there are two things which is very much highlighted in this poll. One is don't know how to start. So definitely that is. So this is the session where during the discussion, along with all of the participants who are here, we will be getting a small access, how to start with this journey of photography. And then the second very important and prominent point was lack of resources. So when I say lack of resources, here I'm considering that to be an expensive cameras like DSLR. So trust me, that's a myth which we are going to talk about this evening. So before starting this evening, where we will be talking about how to take our journey in this photography field, I want to just mention few things about myself, so that you know whom you are listening to and why you should listen to me. That is very, very important, because unless and until you listen to me, and unless and until you follow the discussions, you participate the discussions, we will not be able to achieve the outcome of this event, right? So as Siddharth mentioned that I am a CA by profession. So I worked for almost 10 years as a CA, and then I quit the job, and I actually did a 6 months training and diploma course in fashion photography, and that's the place where I, along with three other friends, we started the journey of photography together under the name called Life Lens Production Private Limited. So that was our first step, and gradually in that company or in that umbrella, we never actually strived for uh, ensuring that it is sustainable financially. Our effort was always that how we can bring our passion and energy, which can be easily visible by client, and they know how we are working in this field of photography. And trust me, that was the biggest success for all of us as a photographer, and as a company as well. So our skills, our passion and energy was always recognized by our client. So before we move ahead, I just want to share a small, I would say it is more like a showcase of my work. I would not say my individual work. When I say my, it means my company's work, which includes my partners as well. So I'm gonna share the screen right now with all of you. Just a minute. Yes. So you might be having a screen in front of you right now.
Yes.
So when we started the journey 6 years back, corporate photography was the one area where we actually set up a trend. So in this segment, we got very fortunate enough to interact with such a senior leaders in the corporate world, and we started setting up our standards in the market. And you can see that in the form of images, which is going right now. Along with the corporate, we all also establish our work into different segments, which include fashion and commercials, and product photography, which will come soon. So yes, this was the fashion photography. This was just a gist of few of the images, few of the work which we have done as a team under Life Lens Production Private Limited. So this is a mix of all commercial work as well as some individual portfolio which we have done for individual clients, or casting agencies, or different modeling agencies as well. So all these fashion related stuff always had certain themes, certain coordination with a lot of participants in the photography. That includes makeup artists, stylists, or the entire concept evaluations. So all of things goes under this. So along with that, as mentioned, we did certain commercial photography, which was purely for a commercial use. So you are seeing some of those kind of images as well. This is an image of the Indian Kabaddi team. So as a commercial photographer, we are also on panel of one of a very big e-commerce giant in Indian market. So the whole point of showing these images is just to establish that what I'm gonna share as my experience. Siddharth mentioned as an me as an expert, but trust me, I'm still learning in this field. And what I'm gonna share here is my experience and my perspective with respect to how what are the limitations when I started as a photographer, and how these limitations are not real, how these are myths, which we'll be talking about. So I think I'll just stop this video over here, because there's so many things to share across. But looking at these kind of images, I think most of the participants will be in a good position to understand whom they are listening to right now.
Yeah, thanks, Rajiv, for that. It's very impressive, of course. Right.
Thanks.
So yeah, now you have already set up the agenda, But any particular message for the audience, that what could be their key takeaways from today's session? And do you want, is it a workshop kind of thing wherein they will be participating with you, doing something?
Yes, so Siddharth, I was coming to that only with a point that, for as they mentioned, most of them mentioned that, they don't know from where to start this journey, right? And the second part was the lack of resources in terms of any expensive DSLR camera or similar equipment. So let me just put this in such a way that, currently, if I see if I see a path for anyone who comes into this industry, is first they look for the expensive DSLR camera. So I bought a camera, I got the camera in my hand. Then I started looking for a leisure time when I can go and practice that DSLR camera. Then I went in the field, I started looking at something, and then I got something good and I started clicking that. But trust me, that's not the journey, that's not the photography. So that's a myth I want to talk about. And what I realized that, the real photography is basically it's an art. It starts much before having a DSLR camera. So if in case, consider the new flow of this photography which I'm going to talk about today. So let's start photography in such a way that, consider that, you are surrounded by your family members, your friends, so you are looking at your daughter maybe playing a board game, or you are looking at your son having some naughty expressions, or you're looking at your wife just having a chit chatting in the evening time. So you absorb those expressions, you absorb those memories, you absorb those moments, and you will always look forward to have something immediately to capture those moments, isn't it? So that's where, the mobile thing, which is the main agenda to talk about this, that how mobile can be used for starting the photography. We don't need any further access, we just have a mobile in our hand. And how we start is basically to connect with the person, to connect with the environment, to connect with the surrounding. So see, that's how I started understanding that there are so many people, and it's a very common conversation with my friends, with my family members, that whenever they want to start the this photography journey, they always ask me where to start with, which camera to buy. And that's the time which actually hit me that, how about to actually design something very straightforward, very simple, which is not bound with a DSLR camera, or which is not based on having a DSLR camera. So design something and share that with the participants. So what I have come up with right now is, and I will keep sharing about that program as well. So I have come up with a session of six, a series of 6 sessions where I'll be talking about the elements of photography. So when I say elements, means it's very similar to an automobile. So in a car, you have a steering, you have a engine, you have a carburetor, you have so many elements. So once you know that all the elements are working well, then you know the car is working well. So similarly, we will be more focusing on the elements of photography in those sessions. And even today, it's not that you will get to know about that in the sessions itself. So in just next 4-5 minutes, we'll be actually talking about and giving a sense that, in next 20 minutes, you can see how it will work when you follow those kind of a tips, in using a mobile phone for photography. So that's the whole agenda in this entire evening.
So you are trying to tell me that uh, with you guiding us, all the audience here, we will be able to take a good photograph after 20 minutes following your tips, if we follow your tips right now. So we can pick up any object sitting at near, say for example, I'm sitting at my room, I can pick up any object, I can take a photograph, and then as you direct me, I keep on changing that or maneuvering that, and I will end up with a good photograph, isn't it?
Yes, Siddharth. So you actually made this entire flow very easy for me, right? So
Yeah.
for all the participants who are here in today evening, right? What I want, till now we have just spoken about me or the photography. So I'm just giving another 1 minute for all the participants to get camera, or to get your mobile in your hand, and any small object can be a small teddy, maybe a small table decorating thing, anything in which is nearby, which is approachable, and keep it ready, because now I'll be going to share the tips. And I really want, unless and until you practice or you use that tips on the go itself along with me, you may not seriously see the result of that. So how is that, Siddharth?
I think excellent. So right now, the biggest concern of audience was they don't know how to start. You have told how to start. Pick up the
Yes.
mobile phone, pick up any object, take the photograph, and follow your directions. Thank
Yes.
you for that.
Right. So you just have to have a mobile and a small object to click. And I'll be guiding right now in next 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah, let's start.
Great. So I'm just sharing the screen right now. And in the meanwhile, I'll ask all the participants here to have your mobile, to have your prop, or like, any small objects with you right now. So should we go ahead further?
Yeah, sure, Rajiv. And meanwhile, if the audience wants to share what object they have picked up, they can post it on the chat box, and that will be interesting. But you can start with your presentation. Yeah.
Right. So if you see over here, like, so what I have done in this, that, I'm actually sharing my mobile screen right now, and I'll be talking step by step. So just simply, like, you don't have to apply anything right now. You just have to simply follow the steps what I'm talking about, right? And I'll be demonstrating that as well. So the right side of the screen, you will be seeing actually a video clip, which will be demonstrating how to follow those steps. So the first step, like, whenever we take the mobile in our hand, the first step is to open the camera, right? So once we open the camera, there are certain like, basic settings which we have to just ensure that those settings are well there in place. So these settings are basically the type of, like, the features. So say, for example, I'll just go through in this video and then again talk about that. So if you see this, there is a subject in the, can you everyone see this screen?
Yeah.
Great. Right. So can you see that, there are multiple options which are available in any of the mobile. So there can be a live focus, there can be a photo, there can be a panoramic view. So depending on the need, you can select the right mode. As the first step will be that. In my case, since I'm taking a portrait, I have taken this photo as the first setting for me. Now the second setting is the size. So moving ahead, so if you see on the right hand side of the screen, you have different sizes which are available in any mobile camera. So you have, say, 3:4 or 9:16 or 1:1. Now how these are different and how it is important to select the right dimension of any image. So 3:4 is a standard ratio of composition of a frame, basically, I would say. So even if you're using in a DSLR camera, you will find the same aspect ratio, 3:4 ratio as a standard ratio. 9:16 is a ratio which is purely for mobile. So say, for example, if you want to click any image of your daughter, of your son, of your wife, of your husband, and you want to keep that as a screensaver in a mobile, definitely you can go ahead with 9:16, because that's a resolution for, that's a kind of aspect ratio for mobile. 1:1 is a very square thing which can be used for a profile image. So if you see in your DP, WhatsApp DP, Facebook DP, generally those are very square image. So that's how you can select this image ratio. The third one, which is currently going right now, is the flash. So for now, keep the flash off. Don't keep it on the auto or any other mode. Now what I'm selecting right now in the screen is the various filters which is available right now. So while selecting the filters, one thing is very important, that you have to select a filter where your skin tone is looking natural. If the skin tone is not looking natural, then definitely the image is not gonna look good and maybe artificially, like, So I have selected one mode where the skin tone is looking more yellowish, some kind of the natural tone which I want for this portrait. So I hope all of the audience has followed these steps. And
one quick question: how do I know what is the natural skin color? I mean, any tip on which part of the? I mean, should I focus on the arms or face?
So you always look at the face, because whenever you look at an image, you always look at the face of the image. So you see at the face, if the face color is good enough, then you ignore the remaining part.
Okay.
So it's good, Yashasvi, you are also doing along with this.
Yeah. So audience can reply if we can, if we have, you all have covered till this point and we can move ahead.
So I think this is a pretty straightforward. So I should move ahead because there are so many things to cover right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Right. Now the second is like, you would always seen that, sometime if you see an image that doesn't look quite crisp or like, sharp. So that is mainly because the image is not in the focus. So when we click from image, the basic mistake or the very common mistake what we do, I think, I don't know who did this. Okay.
Since you are sharing, you can go to one option and disable the participant annotation. That you can only do.
Okay. Understood. So any which ways, if it happens again, then I'll try to find that option. So in this video, if you see, what happens that we always hold the mobile in with one hand and then we try to focus, like, so can you see on the face, the camera automatically try to focus on the subject, right? But you don't depend on the camera itself, you don't depend on the mobile itself. You place your hand, you touch the screen where you want to focus, and if you see wherever you are touching, the brightness or is automatically getting adjusted in the screen. So I'm just holding it for right now. So if you say, for example, if you focus on the shirt, the brightness of the the image will look something different. If you focus on the background, the brightness might look something different. So when you put on the face, that's the right place to focus. So put on the face, touch the face on the screen, and automatically you get this timer which is below, which is for the brightness. So accordingly, once you are having the focus on the face, you manage the timer to get the right brightness as per your choice or something. So if you see right now, I want little high tone of this image, so I have kept it little on a brighter side. Now you have to be very careful that if you move the mobile before clicking the entire setting, because the camera keeps picking up automatically the focus point. So you have to be quick enough, and your mobile has to be stagnant, which I'll tell again in some of the examples. Right? So once you are there, you click the image. Once you click the image, then if you try to zoom it, you will find out that it's very crisp and very sharp. I'll show you that in some next slides as well. Now, one thing which is very important is to have the right angle of the camera. So say, for example, sometime if I click an image of my daughter, some people give me compliment that she's looking quite old as compared to her age. And sometimes someone says that she looks thin as compared to her age. So that perspective is very important. And that perspective is decided by the real angle of the camera. So as when you're taking a portrait, so you should always try to be at the chest level. So if the person is sitting, the mobile should be at the chest level of the person you are clicking. And when the person is standing, you also have to stand up. So see, if you're not standing, then how the images look like. So once you stand and bring the camera at the same level, the perspective becomes normal. So so there's no disproportion in the body. I hope everyone is with me till now.
Yes.
So instead of using, I already recorded the screen. So instead of that, you can always have a small object, as I mentioned, and you can practice right now with me. I'll be going slow so that you can be with me. Now, this is very important. When we are holding a camera, we have to hold the camera very straight. Sometime, if you hold the camera loose, the camera tilts downwards, or or the other way, the camera might be looking upward. So this is again relating to the same thing, but a different perspective. Now you'll see if I'm changing the camera posture, how the like, image will look like in the screen. See, the lower body looks so big and the head looks smaller when I'm like, tilting upward. Similarly, if I'm like, tilting downward, the leg will look quite long compared to the upper body. So keeping the camera very straight, and that's the reason, like, you should use both your hand to click any image so that you have more stability. Right. And that's how you click the final posture. Now, this is something technical, like, so I need to tell you some background about that. So have you heard about fish eye? Like, so fish eye is something which is having a very wide angle. It might be more than 180 degree, right? And so the fish eye kind of a thing, like, so in photography field, we also use certain fish eye lenses in case if we have to capture more angular view of any particular interior or something like that. But what is the demerit or what is the limitation of such kind of a lenses, that at the edges you will find those distortion kind of a thing. Now, I'm not saying that the mobile cameras will have a distortion, but what happens that when the like, the phone lenses, when they are using a wide angle lenses, then what happens that the images look smaller compared to the real perspective. So what I generally do is, like, so I zoom it digitally. Now, while zooming, what happens that the effect of that distortion or the effect of that like, small looking image, that gets rectified and you get the real perspective. So what actually I'm focusing right now is to basically, like, focus on the right perspective or right like, image resolution or image size as compared to the subject. Now, when we zoom a lot, then the resolution, then the pixelation will start happening. So to, like, rectify the distortion, you have to keep this zooming to a tune of maybe 1.3 or 1.35, not more than that. So you would have seen a scale over here.
Yes.
So that this is a digital zooming. Now, a lot of people can always say that I can always do this in editing, like they can always crop that. But then cropping will not actually, cropping is more like, uh, 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 you are just taking out certain part of the image, but that doesn't change the perspective. Like a person who is viewing that image can always understand or can always visualize the size and dimension of the subject by looking at the image. So it's better to do the zooming and click while clicking the image itself rather than doing it in the editing.
Rajiv, one quick question. So the choice between zooming and walking closer to the model.
No,
Um,
so yes, it's a very good question, because then this can be understood as coming close to the subject. I would always say that wherever you are, you have to zoom a little bit. You can't just click on a 0% zoom. You have to zoom it to 125% to 130%.
okay.
Wherever you are.
Okay.
Because here we are not making this subject coming closer. Here what we are doing is we are like, kind of correcting the distortion or correcting that the dimension of the subject, which is looking smaller in case of a wide angle lenses.
Okay. Understood. Thank you.
Right. Now, as I said, like, the entire process will go when if your mobile is not steady. So the moment you like shake the mobile, the focus changes, the brightness changes, everything changes. So you have to make sure that the moment you have a lot of shift in the like, mobile or shake in the mobile, you have to start from the beginning. So when I say start from the beginning, means that you have to touch the subject to have a focus, you have to correct the brightness, you have to zoom. So all these steps needs to be redo. So that's the reason, like, I said that you always use both the hands to avoid that kind of a handshake, and then the images which you'll get will be quite sharp. So in this thing, I'll show you, like, by zooming an image, that how crisp that looks. So this is very, very important, because focus and this sharpness is something which cannot be taken care in the editing. Rest everything can be corrected in editing to some extent, but the focus is something, once the image is not in focus, it's waste. Right? So always practice to use both the hands. You can always hold that mobile with one hand, and while clicking you can use the other hand, so that the mobile is quite steady in your hand. Right. Now this is very common thing, like, I mean, now my daughter and my wife are quite comfortable like, me clicking them, because then they've got habitual of, like, how I talk to them and how I want to pose. But trust me, like, clicking anyone's image is very difficult if the person is not very like comfortable in front of camera. So you have to keep talking with the person, you have to make him, like, feel comfortable, feel like, so talk anything which makes him engage with the conversation, rather than getting focused on the camera and on the posing, on the smile and everything. So generally what I use as a trick is, like, always ask my subject to close the eyes and just have a very normal expression without any smile, and then I always count 1 2 3, and the count of 3 you should open your eyes very gently and have a small or a very mild smile. So this smile looks very nice, very natural, because you're not straining your muscles, or you're not holding this smile for a longer time, because when you are doing these settings, this will take time for sure. So to compensate that time, the other person will it's very difficult for them to hold that expression for a longer time. So now see, this smile is much more natural. I mean, this is looking natural to me compared to the way he used to pose in certain images. So that's how you keep talking. Use this counter. This helps a lot. Like, the moment you count 1 2 3, let the person open the eyes. So the eyes are also very relaxed, and there's a very natural and a little smile. And I think Yashashvi and Siddharth, if you use this, this will help you a lot, because I know you were mentioning this earlier to me, how to make them smile and pose and keep your eyes open for longer time.
Yes, just keep the eyes closed and then smile.
Right.
Doesn't work on family members, but maybe on others it will work.
Right. Now the next thing is that, these moments or these memories, you may not get a chance again, because once the person is out of that frame or out of that mood or moment, then you will never get that expression, or you will never get that moment again. So what I generally do is, like, I always click multiple images. Now multiple images doesn't mean that you click 100 of images, or multiple images doesn't mean that you change the position and you click the images. So what I do is, like, with little bit of restricted movement, like, there can be a little bit of face movement, or the chin movement, or the neck movement, or maybe the hand movement. So with little bit of movement in the subject, I generally click multiple images, so that I have a lot of options, and look for the best which suits my choice. Because once the person is out of this frame, you're not gonna, I mean, if you see that, okay, this image is not good, then you're not gonna get the same thing again. So if you see the video recording, you will see that, the movement are very little, like, so he's bending a little bit sometime, or he's looking up sometime, or he's smiling a little bit more, or he's smiling a little less. So that's a little restricted movement which I'm requesting the subject to do. So that way I have got multiple images right now with me. Why I'm saying not to change the like measure movement, because if you see, the lighting and everything remains the same in all the images. The moment you change, or you make the sitting pose as a standing pose, or vice versa, the entire thing changes. Right. So now after this entire effort, you will have multiple images. So what you have to do is like, you select the best image and do a little bit of enhancement. I will not say edit, but I'll say more like enhancement. Right. So this is more like a selection of images, which image to take as a final image. Right. Now here it comes. So I'm just stopping it. So here it comes the enhancement. Now this enhancement also includes some kind of a cropping. So like, the surroundings, if you are finding extra background, which you don't want, you can always crop that. Then you can always do the little changes in the contrast. Now contrast is very important because right now there is a shadow part and there is a lit up part in this image. So the moment you play around with the contrast, you get more difference between the two, and that's how you actually feel the images to be more live and more like a 3D. So you can see a carve of his nose, or you can see a cheekbone or kind of a thing. So the more shadow and the lit up part is there, the image looks more live, more natural, and more real. So that's the reason I always play around with the contrast. Then you check the exposure and brightness. Right now I don't want to differentiate between the two. I'm keeping it both as a synonym right now, but we can always do. So once you do the contrast, then I have done the brightness part, so that the contrast difference between the two always remain the same. If I just change the brightness and then I work on the contrast, then you will not get this much of difference, because with the brightness works on the overall image. So the shadow part also gets reduces because of change in the brightness. So I mean, personally, I always do the contrast first, and then I touch the brightness.
Just one quick question, Rajiv. Are there some, like scientific combinations of contrast and brightness? So if I go plus 16 on contrast, the ideal complementary brightness is plus 10, something like that?
So see, there is nothing like that. But yes, you should not touch it much higher. I mean, so the counter should not be more than, I mean, whenever you are editing any image, the counter will always be on 0. So from the 0, you should not move away for more than say 20 points, because the more you move, then there will, I mean, right now if you see the shadows, these are mixed shadows. So the dark part is not getting dark suddenly. There is a little bit of mix of that. The moment you increase this contrast or decrease to a level, then the entire thing get distorted, so you will get lines which are very much visible on the images. So if you have taken any image, you can do that contrasting, and you will see that if you increase by say 35 or 40, the images look quite I would say shabby, in terms of, because there will be very dark area and there will be very bright area, and there will be sharp distinction between the two.
Okay.
Right. So this is the final image you have got at the end. Now, one thing, so this is the entire, as I said, these are the hygienes, I would say, not even the technical part, but more like a hygienes. So if you follow these procedure, or if you follow these things, you will definitely gonna have much better image compared to what you had earlier. Definitely, it depends on the experience of audience also, like whether they had this experience earlier or not. One thing which I have not mentioned, which is very, very critical too, is the background. So if you see, in my case, I have taken a background in such a way that there is no like distraction from the background. And in some of the videos, you might have seen that there is a window behind this curtain. So rather than keeping this window open, I mean the curtain open, so that the window is visible, because window was creating a lot of distraction. So that is the one thing which you have to ensure, that whenever you are clicking any portrait images or any images, try bringing that subject in the background, which is less like, distractive, where the colors are not very bold or very heavy, like very red color or very dark blue colors kind of a thing. So you should avoid those kind of a background when you are actually taking the subject for clicking their images. So this is the final image, and yes, this is the image which was ready to be posted on Facebook, and a little bit of appreciation definitely. So this is how, like, I mean, you would have seen that just exercise of 15-20 minutes, if you practice, gradually you'll start understanding a lot of things about mobile photography. So you have to definitely follow these steps one by one. As I mentioned, so you have to have a sharp image, you have to focus on the image, then you have to, adjust the counter for brightness, so you get the right brightness, and then you have to have the right perspective of the image, right dimension of the image. So for that, you have to click the image at the right height. So as I mentioned that, if you're clicking image of a person, you should always follow the height of his chest. So you should keep the camera at the height of his chest, and definitely the camera has to be straight. You can't like tilt it down or tilt it up, because that will again distort. So those are the I would say hygienes which you should always follow in clicking these image. And then you have multiple choices by clicking multiple images. As I mentioned, the multiple images will have little changes in the facial expression, little changes in the eyes movement. So sometimes it might look at the camera, or it might look away from the camera. Sometimes the chin is little up, chin is little down. So that kind of a small movements, because once you have this kind of images, and if you look them again one by one, then you realize, so if you see this image also, when I have started, so not all the images are looking equal. So I just want to replay this video. If you see, not all the images are looking equal. Here the face is little tilted, or here the eyes are little up. That's how, I mean, if you have multiple images, you really get the right one which you want. So here I find the smile is a little missing. So so everywhere you have something or other, and then you get the final images. Yes.
Wow. Awesome, Rajiv. In 15 minutes, I think you have given us quite a few tips on at least taking the day-to-day photographs from our mobile phones.
Right.
And, there are quite a few questions actually for you. People have posted, and I have been replying to them that Rajiv will take questions towards the end. So before I do that, if you can just share the plan of the 6 sessions that you were talking about, the course, what very briefly, if you can tell us, all of us, that what all things are you going to cover in your session plan? I mean the course.
Right. As I mentioned that, this curriculum will be, I'm detaching the equipment used to click the image from the curriculum. So I'm not talking about the equipment. I'm not talking about the DSLR, because, currently if you see a general perspective of someone, as photography is as good as understanding the DSLR camera, which is not the case. So if you understand the DSLR camera, you just understand a DSLR camera, nothing else. It's just a hardware, right? So photography is totally different, and it starts much before you have the DSLR camera. So my objective in this entire 6 session is, in the first session we'll be talking about the components of the image, components of a photograph. So as I mentioned that, when you have to look for your car, whether it's running good or not, you look at various components. You look at the carburetor, you look at the engine, you look at the battery. So all the components are working well, it means the car is working well. Similarly, we will divide the image into multiple parts. So we will understand what are the components. So once we know the components, and then we will start understanding that how to correct each components. So it can be how to correct the background, how to correct the foreground, how to correct the subject, how to correct the filling element. So there are so many things to talk about in that. Second will be that how to, once we understand the composition, once we understand the various elements of the photograph, how to use that to really create a frame. So basically in photography language, that is called as a composition. So we will be talking about the rules of composition. And trust me, once you understand the rules of composition, whatever medium you use to click the image, you are gonna get an amazing image, because that's the main, I mean, that's the input in the image, that's the heart into the image. So the composition will definitely take more time because that's a key part of the photography. So we will be taking 2 sessions purely on composition, and we'll be taking practical examples as well as in these 2 sessions. Then we will move on the lighting, that how we can with the limited, we don't want to use any external lights or any flashlights or anything, with the available natural resources, or with little bit of using some techniques, how we can enhance the lighting of an image and create a real drama. So that will be something which we'll be covering in the 5th session. And then we will be talking on some kind of editing. Again, the editing will be limited to enhancement of the image, and then the storytelling. So that will be the conclusion, that once you know all the composition, all the components of the image, you are finally creating an image, enhancing it, and then creating it in such a format that people will appreciate that. So it is basically you have everything except DSLR, because we don't want to depend on a DSLR. It has stopped our journey for such a long time. Like, a lot of my friends have not yet started because they're waiting to buy the right DSLR camera. So
No, but on a lighter note, I have one good use of DSLR. In every marriage, I carry it so that I am not asked to dance. So everybody keeps dancing, and I have to.
right, so you can definitely use for that purpose, but not for. So imagine that someone over there assume as a photographer and then start asking to click the image.
At the end of it, when the photographs come, people mock me by saying these people with mobile phones took better photographs than you. I wanted to.
Right, so that's what I'm saying, that I'm completely detaching the photography skills from the medium. Mobile or DSLR is not decisive. What is decisive is the understanding of these elements, composing the image, playing around with the light, and click the image. That's what we are going to cover in this entire 6 sessions.
Yeah. So people, we have in your chat box, we have send the link of our website. You can get a detailed session by session content, what Rajiv has been talking about. And we are starting off with this program from Wednesday. So we will be having 2 sessions every week, Wednesday and Sunday. So Wednesday 9 p.m. is the first session. So those who are interested can definitely join us for that course. It will be, I'm sure you must have got the glimpse of what Rajiv can do. So in 15 minutes, he has made at least each of us a better photographer. So I'm sure in 3 hours, he can do a magical job perhaps. And now Yashashvi's relatives will not complain that others have taken better photograph, maybe. Yeah.
We want to show the photograph I have taken, although it's not. Can you see this?
Not. Okay.
Okay, great. Right.
So this guy found time while I was here. He found time to invade the bed, and then he did not smile. I tried, but
that is very natural.
natural. I'm very happy with this composition. I'm not that you have said, right? So yeah.
Right.
No, I actually tried that. I tried the contrast and brightness, which has been my. I mean, I always struggle with that. So first contrast, and then so this is like, I think this is 20% contrast and 10% brightness. So,
right. So one thing very important, one of the limitations was also the time for people. So what we have done is these sessions are very limited timing, so we have kept it for say 30 minutes, which will have 5 minutes of recap kind of a thing, 20 minutes of actual curriculum, and then again 5 minutes of Q&A. So that's how you have small doses to practice. It's not, you don't have to remember, or you don't have to put time to get it or sink yourself in this entire concept. It's easy going, easy through. And then yes, at the end of those sessions, those who are really very keen, I can always help them on an individual level to get into the right path, what they want, whether they want to use it on a commercial level. I can always guide them. I can always support them individually, although it's not the promise of the curriculum.
Yeah, thanks for that extra support. Now I have few questions. I mean, audience have asked few questions. So Atif has actually given you compliment that amazing, the subject has not moved. That came long back when your subject was still and you were showcasing. So
Okay.
Atif has that message for you. OP Singh is asking, is there any particular camera APK you would suggest for beginners?
So when I say APK, I think he's talking about some kind of a tool to click the image.
Uh, yeah, if OP Singh is here, maybe you can answer. OP
So
Singh.
what I will generally say that, I mean, you use the camera, which is default camera option in your mobile. So if you're using Samsung or if you're using,
Yeah, camera application. It's basically application
yes.
app. Yeah. So he's asking any particular camera application that you will suggest,
See,
Android app or something.
okay, so till now, that's what I'm saying. Say, for example, I'm using Samsung, so I'm using the default camera mode of that. I have never used any separate app, and I'm getting the good result. So don't look for the camera for now. As I said, you focus on the steps first, and I think you will get the result by that, following those steps itself.
Yeah. Then Priya is asking how to make kids do that. I think Priya was referring to the I think the slide when you were talking about talking to your subject and making them feel comfortable.
Right.
If I'm not wrong, Priya, that was the time when you posed your question.
Right. So, I mean, as I mentioned that, it's really difficult to engage the kids to click the photo. And that's the reason I always make them, I mean, my daughter is now got used to, and she become a pro for getting the photo clicked. So I don't have an issue, but I have like, gradually what I've seen that, when you engage them in something, so you can engage them in drawing, you can engage them in a game. When they are engaged in the game, you don't have to bother about any expression. Their expressions will be amazing. You're just clicking the image. So look for something which really makes them interesting, makes them excited. It can be a chocolate, it can be anything which makes them excited and engaged, I would say.
Yeah. Omkar is asking, many photographers say that we should not crop the image more than 20 to 30%. Is it the same with the mobile photography?
So yes, I would say as an answer, yes. Why I said cropping is like, if you would have seen that I have not cropped much. So while composing the image, you should ensure that there's no extra area in the image itself, but just to make it more intact or more compact, you can do little bit of cropping. But yes, as you mentioned that, if you crop more, the resolution size gets reduces. Like you are eventually like taking a small piece of the bigger pie. So definitely that will not have the impact or the resolution.
Right. Then Atif is asking, what about AI? All recent phones have enhanced effect built in. Should we use them or should we go natural?
I would always prefer natural, because all the filters I would have shown you also to look for the filters in the initial stage, right? But generally I never use filters, because once you click the image in that filter, you can't bring it in a natural form. So click the natural form, whatever editing, whatever filter you want to add further, you can always do that.
Okay. Then there is one question from Realme 6. That can't be a real name, Realme 6. But all right, fine. I'm asking question on behalf of Realme. Sir, can you please tell that how can we convert a background into a plain white one?
Okay, so of course, I mean, you need to do that in editing only. There is no other way of doing it, because I mean, in my case, as I mentioned, I have used the curtain which is white. You can always use something which is little light color, which is not distracting the subject. Uh, but yes, if you want to make it something white, you have to crop the image manually in an editing tool, and then you have to put the background in white color.
Okay. Then Amrita is asking question, any advice for people who want to pursue photojournalism?
I think then mobile photography is the best thing, because when journalism is all about you will be traveling and you will have a very limited time to capture something. So while handling a DSLR camera in that situation will be really difficult. So you can always start practicing more on the mobile so that you can be more pro. Because in journalism, what I have seen is the moment is very important. If you're clicking any particular incidents, that is very important. The resolution is not so important.
Right. So more questions if people want to ask, Rajiv is available here. And to everyone, just to tell you again that we are launching a course. Rajiv will be the mentor a 6-session program, a 3-hour program every Wednesday and Sunday, 30-minute session. And on the tips, and of course, Raju will be personally mentoring all those who join the program. You can visit our website. I have shared the link. I will share once again the link. And this Wednesday, the coming Wednesday, we 30th September, I think 30th is the date, Wednesday. We are starting off with the program 9 p.m. So all those of you who are working, you have the spare time and you can relax yourself at 9 p.m. Wednesday in Rajiv's session then. Yeah. Rajiv, we have few compliments also. Kumar Singh is saying that very insightful. I missed that message. I have to just again, just a minute.
Nobody.
Very clear, insightful and interactive session. Great to go. Shambhavi is saying superb and completely focused session. And
Thank you. Thank you guys.
yeah. And now you have another question. How about we use pro mode in camera app?
Right. So again, pro mode is good when you're taking any portrait image, because that easily differentiate between the subject and the background. But still, I would always recommend to keep it very natural. All these things can be taken care of in the post processing, I would say, in the enhancement part. So sometimes what happens then when camera differentiate between the background and the image, the edges of the image gets very distorted or swirl kind of a thing. So I would recommend to keep it very natural, normal, and then enhance it in the editing tool.
Right. So guys, one thing we missed about this session is those who joined, they will get the recordings also, right? So even after Rajiv's session, if you again want to go back and see what all he has taught, you will get the recordings also of these session. And if you have any particular question regarding the session, and of course regarding the photography as an art, you can definitely ask. Otherwise, we will close the session.
Yes, if you have not checked it out, the fees is 2,500. You get access to one of India's best photographers for that, and you can start your passion. So please check that out. This is Yashasvi. I'm not coming there because my lighting arrangements are not as exquisite and natural as Rajiv's. I don't know what he has done there, but right now I'm in the middle of darkness. But please, I mean, this guy, just check that out, and you can't get a more genuine person than Rajiv in going all out to make sure that whether it's photojournalism or your Instagram handle, I mean, you will get what you want from this. All right, so guess we can wrap up, and please, as always, just 1 or 2 follow-up messages and mails will come to you, but the course starts on Wednesday. So if you like it, then join it, check out the details, and yeah, take photographs tonight.
And we will share recording of this session too.
Yeah.
That will be great. That will be great.
Okay.
One question Mamta is asking, if you can answer that. Can we get any tips about outdoor photography in the course?
Yes. So that's what I said, that, you will not be using any flashlight or a studio light. We'll be using the ambient light, which is available around you, around us. And that will be one of the key part also. So the setup will be quite easy. It will be very easy to execute, and you get a very good result out of that. I just want to share one image if I can right now. Just a minute, I mean, this is one of my favorite. So I'm just sharing one image, which is of just a minute.
Meanwhile, I will tell my favorite anecdote, not anecdote, but a real story about the power of photography. I don't know how many of you know, but Adolf Hitler he rose to power on the basis of a photographer friend. I'll come to that after Rajiv talks about this.
So can you see this image?
Yes.
Right. So this is, I've got a lot of compliments about this image, and it is just a ambient light which was available. So you can see everything. You can see the shadow, you can see the carving on the face, you can see the the eyes and everything, very so it looks so live. So that's how and it's very easy to set. So there are so many images which I'll be keep sharing, which I have clicked for my family, friends. So no, not this one. Right. So yes, all what I have to share with everyone who is present here.
Yeah, so I'll complete the story. I think that's how we'll complete the session. So Hitler, he knew the power of photographs, and what he used to do was he used to go to a studio, and there his photographer friend would take his photographs with all the expressions, everything, and he would run through all those photographs and then arrive at certain postures which he thought make a very good impact. Now, if you go to YouTube and watch those his speeches, which look very animated, he would raise his hand. No, left hand would go higher, the right hand will be in a particular position. Everything was rehearsed in a photograph studio. So in a way, if Hitler did not have a photographer friend, he would not have risen to power, and there would have been no world war. So that's the power of people like Rajiv. They can turn photographs, ordinary people into extraordinary stories. On this dangerous note, I think we can end the session.
Fine. All right, guys. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you very, very much. And thanks for all of you who actually took this time, especially on the Sunday when you have so many choices to make, but you chose to be here to listen to. And that's how the first action would be to participate in this and start the journey together.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Yeah. And once you join, more details on how the course will flow, where will you get the link? I'm sure there must be questions in your mind. All those will be taken care of, so you need not worry at all. The process regarding the classes and where will you get your recordings, all this will be shared with you in the meanwhile. Yeah.
Right.
All right. Okay. Bye.
Okay. Thanks. Thank you, guys.